This form is to help you tell us about the financial difficulties your charity may be facing as a result of the impact COVID-19 is having on your ability to fundraise or otherwise generate income. This form is to help us work out the extent to which COVID-19 has impacted on your income and expenditure over the period 1st of April to the end of September. To do this, we need to have a realistic idea of what you initially expected your income and expenditure to be over the period 1st of April to the end of September, and what you now expect it to be as a result of COVID-19. On occasion, we may need to phone you for clarification on some points, and we will only talk to the main contact named on the application form, so make sure the main contact fully understands the information you provide on this form. There is a limited amount of funding available for this programme, so as well as considering how your charity's income has been affected, we will also be looking at the extent to which your charity has mitigated against these losses. That could be by cutting down on your project activity and costs to that which is absolutely necessary, furloughing staff, applying for funding, or by using some of your reserves. When completing this form, we advise that you use the same budget headings as you do in your annual accounts. This enables us to compare the information you're providing with your previous year's accounting information. The first table we're asking you to complete relates to your planned income over the period 1st of April to the end of September and comparing this against what you now anticipate it may be as a result of COVID-19. In completing this table, we have listed a number of budget headings. You can use these and add your own to the table by adding more rows. Please then use a new line for each source of COVID-19 funding you have received or will receive over this period. The column Explain the Difference is for you to explain why things have changed in relation to that particular budget heading. The first column we're asking you to complete relates to your planned expenditure over the period 1st of April to the end of September and comparing this against what you now anticipate it may be as a result of COVID-19. The second column relates to your expended expenditure over the period 1st of April to the end of September to what you now think it will be as a result of COVID-19. Only put down in this column what your unavoidable expenditure is expected to be. Please add more rows to the table to reflect your main expenditure headings. The column Explain the Difference is for you to explain why things have changed in relation to that particular budget heading. At the bottom of the two tables, there is a row for you to note the extent of any surplus or deficit you were expecting at the end of September and the figure you're expecting now. We want to know what your charity's financial position was prior to the impact of COVID-19. To help us do that, we will look at the accounts that you provide us. This box is for you to provide an explanation if your charity was experiencing financial difficulties before the pandemic. In these current difficult times, we expect charities to use some of their reserves, if they have any, to make up the expected deficit. We understand that a charity will have restricted and designated reserves that are set aside for future projects. We do not expect you to draw from these funds to cover your immediate financial needs. We also understand that a well-run charity will build up free reserves to plan for the future and to help them in difficult times and to allow it to wind down should it need to close. This is usually set out in a reserves policy. In the reserves figures table, we asked you to detail your free reserves as of 31st of March 2020. And what you expect them to be on the 30th of September 2020. We expect that if charities have free reserves in excess of their stated reserve policy figure, they will use the excess to cover the anticipated deficit. This should be reflected in a decrease in your reserve figure in the column projected free reserves 30th of September 2020 from the figure in the column on the 31st of March 2020. In this box, we'll ask you to tell us what your organisation's reserve policy was as of the 1st of April 2020. If your charity has made changes to your reserves policy since the last published accounts, please provide an explanation here. Please tell us in the box how much of your free reserves you intend to use towards your anticipated deficit. Having considered your projected income and expenditure over the period 1st of April to the end of September and utilising, if appropriate, some of your reserves, we will ask you to clarify the amount you're requesting from us in this box. If you're successful with your application, the funding to your charity may be considered to be state aid. Please answer the questions here, and if the answer to both questions is yes, then you will need to complete a de minimis declaration if you're awarded funding.